Welcome back to Momentous Juggle, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast and other games as appropriate, I guess, for us. This week, don't have an Aubrey with me. He's busy doing fan fusion stuff this week and isn't able to record at the normal time, and was short notice with me. I wasn't able to sit there and work something out that worked around his schedule, so I have back from, well, you joined me after Adepticon, so once again, It's Austin,
Hello.
Yeah, Dane's brother has joined me once again.
Yes, officially on Longshanks as Dane's brother.
Which is
great, but I'm sure it confuses people that have no idea what that is a reference to.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fine, which is fine. It's fine. But so I brought you on, because you have had a chance to play quite a couple of games since the errata. You actually played against your brother. I can't remember his name. But yeah, so you played against Austin's brother. And
Dane's brother's brother.
Dane's brother's brother. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you got to play against Dane and get a game in with him. And then I saw you last night actually playing a game with Chris Sampson. Some people know him as the purest of Christophers. He's been named accordingly as that. So you got a couple games in, which is pretty cool. But outside of Shatterpoint, what you been up to, man? You've been doing any other? I know you've been doing the smooth stuff like crazy.
Yeah. So I've done the swoosh stuff. So I did go and play in the planetary qualifier a few weeks back. Which was a lot of fun, because my first event was the Sector Qualifier, I think it's called, or Sector something, which is a massive event. I really did not understand how big that was going to be. So then playing in the Planetary, it was nice because it wasn't as big, but it was still a really big event.
Right.
My boy, Yularen, finally is good. So I bought his showcase card actually at Sectors for $25.
Seems like quite a steal, actually.
Yeah, so it technically is a damaged card. It has a very, very minor misprint that you don't notice unless I point it out to you, which reduced the price. But I think his normal price at the time was like $50 still, because he wasn't good. No one was really playing him, so it was cheap. But with this set that came out, and basically because of rotation, things that rotated out, now he has really good play. He's actually up there, I think, now, is like some of the top decks. I think it has a healthy meta, so. But I was able to play him with my beautiful showcase. Had a lot of fun. I did pretty decent. I started out real strong. Yeah, I started out 3-0.
Yeah.
Which I was not prepared for. And then the fourth game put me back into a reality check, which was against the guy who got second place. He went to the championship and lost. He absolutely decimated me. He was playing Obi, and he destroyed me, and I was like, oh, man. Ended up losing the next 2 games after that, and then I won my 7th, so I went 4-3, which was great.
Okay. And overall, for playing in your second event, that's really, really good.
Yeah.
It
was a lot of fun.
That's going to happen, especially when you sit there, being someone who's played in card tournaments. It's like, okay, you usually you might get a couple of easy matchups those first couple rounds, and it's like, okay, you can start out pretty easy as a 2-0, 3-0, but then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now at 3-0, pretty much you're at like the 20%, the top 20% of the players have kind of risen to the top at this point in time, and you're in that mix, and it's like, you're gonna be playing some of the top players at that point in time.
Yeah, because I think it was 2 out of the 3 games I lost were against top 8 players, and then that one of them was he went to the championship. So yeah, definitely once I hit 3-0, I got myself up into that bracket of they're here to play.
Right.
But even in those higher competitive games there, the players were fantastic. I mean, the sportsmanship and the humor. I dominated someone and we're still joking around. They dominated me. They're joking around still.
Right.
All my games except for my last one ended in 30 minutes. Because my deck was go fast. And so the games went fast until I played a mirror game. That was my 7th game, was a mirror with James. And it was Yularen versus Yularen. And I guess when 2 aggro decks play each other, it actually becomes a slow game.
Right. Yeah, because you're both running into each other with at the same pace, so it's kind of just
well, and we're playing, I mean, almost identical decks too, so we know what our plan is. And the other thing too is like we both want to have initiative, so then you have to sit there on your thing and go, okay, if I do one more thing, is he going to take initiative because I want it, but he's thinking the same thing, so we're like almost playing this initiative chicken. And it came down, it actually came down, it was beautiful. It came down to, on the next round, on my next turn, if I don't draw a single card, I lose the game. I lose. And it was, and it was aggressive negotiations, because with what I had on the board, I had initiative, and my Devastator, I could not beat him with just my Devastator that was by itself on the board. It wasn't enough damage. But if I pull aggressive negotiations, then I can play that, which gives me an attack power boost to my Devastator, and then I win.
Yeah.
And so we sat there, and we both were like, "Yeah, that's the only way I win." And I was like, "Well, the heart of the cards, baby." And I went, Exodia! And played aggressive negotiations and won.
Nice.
Like we didn't even do the whole like playing our resources. It was literally like, oh, I drew it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna play that and attack you and win. And we're like, yep, cool. All right.
Nice.
So,
nice.
But yeah, James is a great guy.
It's wild that you jumped in that way, though. Like, I'm just going to go straight into play. It's like going and being, well, you know what? I'm going to play Shatterpoint. I'm just going to play in Worlds. Yeah, I'll just go to Decathlon and play in Worlds in my first tournament. You know?
Yeah,
like, why not?
Why not? You know? Yeah. No, I mean, it's great. And the Star Wars Unlimited community here is fantastic. The Phoenix Squadron. I got to wear my jersey that I got there, so I felt really included. Mm-hmm. And then, Tristan, over at the Legion side, talked to me about Legion, and now I'm playing Legion, and he taught me how to play, and so that's my other mini game is
you
Star Wars
Phoenix
Legion
Squadron over to Inferno Squadron, because that's the
I need to get a jersey for Inferno Squad now. One thing is the Shatterpoint. We need a team and we need jerseys. Because the other 2 games have a team and have jerseys. We're
the only Star Wars game in the Valley without a jersey. So you know what it is? Is we need to have basically we just need to have the guys from Desert Collective basically to make jerseys. I mean, and then just go with that.
Yeah. So, I mean,
we'll put that on.
So
Jared's listening. We'll have Jared. You need to start making a Desert Collective jerseys. There you go. It's been done.
Yeah,
it's been set.
Yep, exactly. That way, when we have our players making top 8 in Worlds, we'll be repping some jerseys.
Yeah, we could be really cool. But yeah,
it's been a good time of hobbying and gaming with some Star Wars. Now that the errata's out and the new boxes, we're having a lot of fun. So, but
it seems like there's a revitalization for sure with the game, which is pretty cool.
What have you been up to?
So, like locally, there's the MCP league that we run, and the summer league has kicked off. So, being doing that, still painting up the Legion stuff. I'm actually, as I was waiting for you. Let's see here. As I was waiting for you, I was working on some of the trooper leaders, stuff like that. So
we can almost play our game.
Almost play our game, yeah. I don't like that. I know it just drives you crazy that I don't play unless it's painted. So it's and I've been slowly painting.
I will say, though, is that my first game with Tristan, I had 4 squads of snowtroopers, and none of them were painted at all. They were just primed. And then they got kind of mixed together near each other, and then it became which one's with what squad?
Right.
Yeah, and I learned that game, even if you're not going to paint it, put some type of marker on them to signify what squads there are. So,
right.
Yeah. But
Makes a
once you
difference.
paint them, then you know.
Yeah, yeah, it makes a difference, and it's like, yeah, I'll definitely be like color, like the paint scheme for each squad will be slightly different, so you can tell the difference from one to the other type of a thing. Like I know, like because I have like from the original core set, both of those are painted differently. Like the 2 5-person squads for those, or what would be 5-person squads, each one of those is painted differently. So like it's pretty easy to discern the old models versus the newer ones anyway. So it's like there should be between all 4 trooper squads, it'll be pretty easy to tell the difference from one to the other, which is again like like it's when we're especially when you're looking at playing like a 600-point game on a 3x3 mat, I can see a lot of models just kind of like
they collide. Yeah. Well, especially if you start playing like a few super squads, because then you got 10 or 11 models in that squad, and they gotta fit.
Right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like for the last 3 days now almost, I did something to my shoulder and just like even just lifting my shoulder like this is like hurts, is painful. So it's like I'm not sure what the heck I did. So it's like that's kind of stopped me, because I was like, even when I was painting, I'm like, okay, I have to hold my arm a certain way so it's not painful.
Yeah.
So I don't sit there and flinch as I'm painting. So that's been an adventure for sure. Is like trying to figure out how to negotiate that. It's like, man, age has caught up with me. Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it starts to hit you. You sleep wrong, and all of a sudden you're dead.
Right.
You die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. Yeah. So yeah, we can definitely go and jump into like your games, because you said you played 2 games. So your first game that you played against your brother, what was the squad you were playing? Because I'm sure you're playing the new stuff.
Yes, so I've been super excited about Morgan ever since she was announced. So it's kind of like Rift, where it's just I'm playing a whole bunch of it. So my squad was the Morgan box, because honestly you can't really go wrong with that. Enoch, Night Troopers, and her just synergize so well, and they have a lot of gotcha stuff going on, which is great. And then on the other side, I played it with Veers, Snow Trooper Lieutenant, and then Death Troopers. Okay. So Veers is fantastic. Just all around, Veers is great. Snow Trooper Lieutenant feels good. After playing the 2 games, I kind of feel like, because my second game I did DTE instead. Snow Trooper Lieutenant feels a lot more defensive, and his activations sometimes don't feel too great. He's a little bit slower. Death Troopers, I think, are just the best Stormtroopers for that slot. Shore Troopers are great, but they're slower, more defensive, because they care more about hunkers. Stormtroopers don't exist. They haven't been released in the game.
Well, and it seems like Morgan... he doesn't want defensive stuff, like when you're like with her when you're playing that strike force, and so it seems like that would not be
wants
the
you
right
to
mix.
Yeah, she wants you to get up into the mess, and then also because realistically it's like you don't want your stuff to get wounded, but with the Night Troopers you kind of want your Stormtroopers to get wounded, because if a Stormtrooper gets wounded and the Night Trooper is within 5 of Morgan, they remove all their injured tokens. So, which is really cool when you send your Night Troopers up and they start messing with your opponent. They wound them, which instantly makes them pop back up, and they're just injured, no damage, remove 1 condition. So if they're not shoving them away, they're constantly contesting. And then your team has so many ways of moving them out of action. That they can move right back on. So they're going to get wounded a lot. Your opponents are going to constantly attack them. Once they get to 2 injured tokens, the next time you play them, they're going to get removed from the board. So now you can leverage, I can be aggressive with my other Stormtroopers, and if my opponent wounds one of them, my Night Troopers are 100% fresh again.
Right.
And now they're going to annoy you for the entire rest of the game. So, or they have to go, well, I can't kill the Death Troopers because then the Night Troopers are going to be good, so I can't take this point. And you kind of have to, you can force your opponent to have to make non-tactical decisions because they don't want to wound your stuff, that way they can just get Night Troopers off the board.
Yeah, it's nice. I like the idea of having to ask an opponent a question of your opponent. I mean, and you're really putting
Yeah.
your opponent in a position where it's like, okay, well, you have to make a decision on how you're going to attack me that is going in a way that might be not beneficial to you, and you got to figure out if it's that worth that risk type of a thing. So I like that that list kind of brings that to the game, because there's not a lot of lists out there right now that do that.
Yeah, I mean, the only time you really have a list that makes them ask that question is revenge lists. It's, you know, if I wound this, what's going to happen? Where this one I feel like is a little bit worse, because it's not, if I wound this, this stuff might happen. It's like, no, if I wound this, this is guaranteed to happen. Like
Right.
The Night Trooper not being within 5 of Mother is going to be really difficult, or Morgan. So more than likely it's going to get triggered if you wound. So, which in my first game against my brother, that did not happen, and they left the table. Now,
so there's some positioning on your side that you really have to watch out for as well. I think so. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve around the first, like when people first start playing that as well.
Yeah, because it was my first game with her. I played the Night Troopers aggressive, like you kind of want to, but I didn't really get my other Stormtroopers in a place that he had to attack them. So by the time my Night Troopers had the 2 injureds and they were going to be coming up in the next 3 activations, I didn't have, like, there was no chance he's going to wound one of my Stormtroopers. So, like, both of us knew Night Troopers are leaving the board once they activate, because all my Stormtroopers are healthy. But
Right.
but at the same time, him and I talked about it, and it was like, well, you've invested so much into my Night Troopers to get them to 2 injureds, and now the rest of my board is healthy. Because all the attacks were going into the Night Troopers, because he was just trying to take the points away from them.
Right.
So even though they left the board, they basically were like a distraction, where now for the rest of the game, it's like my guys have, they haven't been attacked once.
Yeah, so you have 5 perfectly healthy models, or perfectly healthy units, because you focused fire on those zombie.
I went through an entire deck, and there was like 1 or 2 damage spread somewhere else other than the Night Troopers. So that definitely played to an advantage, even though they left the board. So, and I was playing, my brother's list was Boss Hunter, so it was definitely a aggressive list.
Right.
Which Boss is still great.
Yes, that's kind of what I was going to ask next, is like, how did it feel playing into Boss? I mean, like, it doesn't feel like the changes were like a giant nerf to him. They felt like there was, they patted him down a little, but nothing that's going to sit there and really make him unplayable or anything like that. He's just not going to be broken. Just like I think with Cassian, it's kind of the same feeling. So how did it feel like overall with that?
Well, it didn't feel terrible playing into him, which is good. Because normally, before the errata, you played into Boss Hunter, and you're like, it just feels awful. You're just dying nonstop. Where now, Boss activates, and you're like, stuff's gonna die. Like, stuff is gonna die, for sure. The one nice thing is, especially with the force refresh thing, now it being 1 force instead of 2, it helps out a lot, because, like my brother was kind of talking about as we went through the game, he's like, in this attack, if I don't get the free ability activation, I am not throwing my grenade.
Right.
Because 2 force for that ability is not worth it, because it's not guaranteed damage. So, and he did hit the free ability, so he was able to use it, I think, once or twice during the game. But when he didn't get it, he did not use the ability, which also makes, as an opponent, feel better, to where it's not, my guy barely survived the boss attack, and boss is just going to throw that grenade now, because he's guaranteed to get that force he just spent back, because he guarantees the wound.
Right.
So, yeah, I think with boss's nerfs, you will still see him played. He is still great. He can still win worlds. but he is not S tier anymore. He is not sitting at the top where everyone's going to play him, and if you go against him, you have more of a chance of losing than winning. Right. I think you could take other competitive lists and easily beat him.
Right. And we're only, a week into the releases? Between the releases and the errata, we're a week and a half,
about 2 weeks in now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still early to sit there and go, yeah, this is going to be what the new meta is. I think people are still feeling it out and everything too, but it's nice to know that it's not Cassian and Boss are definitely not the clear winners going forward.
Yeah. No, I think the nerfs to them is fantastic. I think they're sitting in a great spot. They're still going to be competitive. They're still going to be great. The people that want to cry about Rebels, it's okay. Rebels are fantastic, but they are sitting in a place where it doesn't feel bad to play against them.
Yeah, they're not oppressive anymore, and they're not. And that's the thing. I don't think anything in a game should be oppressive, and that's and Cassian, when you added in Bazin Chirrut and everything, that all the pieces that he had, it just felt oppressive. So it's nice to know that those two lists just aren't feeling as oppressive as they were before.
Yeah, because I don't think I would mind going into a tournament and seeing Boss or Cassian on the other side of the table right now. Where before in the moment I saw it, I was like, "Oh, here we go." So I think for the game itself, it is going to be good, where people are going to actually just enjoy playing more.
Well, that's awesome. So then you played a second game. You were playing against Chris, and you played Morgan again here, but you made a slight change to your list. What was the change that you made?
So I only made one change, and that was just switching out Snow Trooper Lieutenant for DTE. Now I will say Snow Trooper Lieutenant, fantastic. And depending on if you're playing a full Empire Premiere, Snow Trooper Lieutenant may just stay with Veers. If DTE works better in your other squads. But DTE, he feels faster, his activations feel better. You do a little bit more with your squad with him. Being able to get a lot more movement out of your stormtroopers. He just feels faster, and I think this list wants a little bit more aggression.
Makes sense.
Because, I will say Veers comboed with, Night Troopers was great, because on my first turn, so I won priority, and I went first, and during setup, I reserved Night Troopers, which gave them the dash forward. Originally setting them up to, we played the new mission, whatever that's called.
Shifting priorities, I believe, is that right?
That's the old one. Shifting is old. Strategic positions.
Thank you. I knew it was an S.
Yeah, strategic positions. So I was able to use the dash to put one of them at that middle point and one of them over to the right. And I basically did that as if one of those points is not activated, then I can just go with them first and send them up the board. Which when we flip the struggle, the one on the other side of my activation side was active. So I was like, sweet, Night Troopers are now dashed forward. They can activate, they can do a dash, and then they can do an advance. And one of them lands on Chris's back point. It was on elevation, so I did hit a ladder to get that last extra distance to get up and then forward one onto the point. Right. But because they were a 50 mil base, it gave me that extra distance too. So yeah, my first activation was giving 1 damage to Morgan to not spend a force for their dash. Which I did learn that Morgan takes the damage. In my first game with Dane, I misunderstood the card.
Right.
Because I read it as this unit takes the damage. I kind of read that as like the unit doing the ability takes the damage. But because Chris is like, oh, isn't there supposed to be a damage on Morgan? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, the ability. And I was like, oh yeah, it's right here on the Night Trooper. And he's like, yeah, it goes on Morgan. I was like, ah. So Morgan takes
That's
one
why he
damage.
has all those heals.
Yeah. Now it makes so much more sense. I dash up, and then I advance. I hit the ladder. I get up, and then I shoot the ISB. So I didn't even have to use a take cover to get all the way. I actually was able to make an attack afterwards. Just one, because the other one went to the middle point. The middle... Was it the middle? It might have been the middle. Yeah, first activation, I think it was the middle. But, or the middle left. But, yeah, so I get on his back point. My first turn, I'm taking the back point and I think 2 or 3 others as well.
Okay. That's wild. I mean, but I can see that. I mean, like, you have a lot of, even if you, with taking out Lieutenant, you have a lot more mobility just with the active ability, because like you can, if someone's injured, especially, and your guys are probably going to be injured quite a bit anyway, especially because you're moving them so far forward, then they get to do a full advance, or no, so I think it's a reposition instead. So, but they're moving the full movement template, not the smaller movement template. But then also, then DTE also has, the ability to move himself. There just seems like there's a lot more movement when you just make that subtle change to go to DTE, and there you can really be a little more aggressive, which sounds like is really what you're trying to do with the list that you have.
Yeah, no, DTE definitely opens up a lot more aggression and movement, which definitely helps out, because now at that point, and I kind of even told Chris, because it's a friendly game, so we tell each other our inside thoughts about what our plans are. If the opponent makes better decisions because we give them insight, who cares? But
right.
Because I told him, I was like, well, putting him there means now he's a target. He's probably going to get taken off the board. You're probably going to murder him twice. Next activation, he's gone. But now at least I know on your first activation, you can't just come to the midline and start fighting for it. You have to deal with me in your backline. That starts me out very strong.
Right.
So that's really what my end goal is to disrupt his back line and make him have to invest back there, so that the rest of my squad can take over the midline, and then by the time he's able to come to the midline, I've fortified it a lot.
Right. Yeah, it goes back to the asking your opponent questions and like what they want to do, and a big part of that being asking, like posing a question of like, okay, well, you have this character on your back line. Oh, and by the way, they can stand back up. When you put the Night Troopers back there, they can stand back up on top of it. How do you want to play this? So you're asking a very complex question at the very beginning of the game, which is pretty interesting when you have to do when you're doing something like that. So it's an interesting play style for sure, especially when you add in the aggression of the list and everything else along those lines too.
Yeah, and I think the list plays out great because I don't remember. I think ladders helped out with my movement on the right side of the board, because my second, I don't remember what he played first, but he was able to take that back point away from the Night Troopers. I think he was able to get 2 bodies on it. They were still on it though, so he didn't get to remove them. He just got 2 bodies and took it. But my next activation was Enoch. And I was able to, I think it was because of like dashes on his tree or something, I was actually able to get Enoch onto the like back middle point of his. So then at the end of my second activation, I had someone on his back right point and someone on his back center point. And I took, I was able to move someone to take other points. So I was able to, secure 4 points on my second activation with contesting both of his back points, controlling one of them and contesting the other.
Yeah, I think it's like because Enoch can do some interesting things simply, especially when you have the night troopers in there. Simply because he can, if he moves a night trooper, he can spend that force to move a night trooper, which allows him to move himself. Um,
Yeah.
and then like you said, like he only needs to go 3 down his tree. If he does that, you can go shove, reposition. So it's like, okay, you shove the one and the range 1 tool, and then you are able to do the full movement tool to reposition him. So it's an interesting way to sit there and really get a lot of movement out of him, because like if you move, do the dash, and then on top of that do an attack, okay, now you've done a full movement action to dash, a potentially a shove, and a reposition on top of it. It's like, okay, you basically can move him anywhere on the board with all of that movement that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Because
as a whole, the game went great. He was playing Moff Gideon, Grand Inquisitor. So under Moff, he had um, Vader 3 and the ISB. And under Grand Inquisitor, he had Third Sister and Fifth Brother. So
yeah,
I think the big thing that helped him during the game was 2 tiebreakers. They definitely came into play and helped out a lot. They made me getting points back a little bit more difficult. Um, because it was no longer I can just, move up and do this. It's like, no, I have to get rid of this person. And um but his dice also didn't really agree with him on a lot of attacks. Now, I will say at the beginning of the game was kind of weird. Because we both were rolling a lot of dice, because Veers was giving me 1 extra defense dice on my stormtroopers. So I was rolling 6 dice constantly on defense. He's rolling a good amount of dice on offense. And, I'd roll and it would be like, oh man, I rolled 6 dice and got 4 misses. And then I'd look over and he rolled 8 dice and got 5 misses. And you're like, oh, my defense roll sucked, but so did your attack roll. So we both sucked.
That's brutal.
Which equals out.
Right.
So I took struggle 1. We went into struggle 2. It was a pretty good fight for struggle 2. It hit a point where I looked at the board. And this was one thing that I did tell him at the very beginning. I said, hey, there's one thing that as a player I want to work on, and I want your help with it, is to not get tilted. And so when I get tilted, it's not, I don't become aggressive towards my opponent. It's not that kind of tilt. It's just, I become a pessimist about everything that's happening in this game. The moment my dice turn on me, the moment plays don't turn out, where it's like, I just need 1 or 2 boxes to do this thing and it doesn't happen, and like my mood immediately turns, and I feel like I become a terrible opponent when that happens, because I'm not fun to play against anymore when I'm just sitting there like moping about dice. Yeah. Because that definitely happened when I played my game against my brother, where which is why I chose strategic positions for this one, because I hate the priority roll for priority objective. Now, because I get tilted, I believe my view on how bad it is skewed, but I believe if you actually kept track of it, it definitely went his way more, for sure.
Right.
And he even kind of agreed, like, yeah, it went my way more, but then he was kind of like, it wasn't like every time you rolled the worst option and I rolled one I already had. And I was like, it might not have been every time, but it definitely felt like every freaking time. So I told Chris from the start, like that's what I want to work on. And it only hit one time during the game where I got a little tilted and pessimistic, and I was like, I lose this struggle. And then I won the struggle and won the game. But it was what happened. It's because, you hit that point where you're like, I can't make a difference right now in this struggle.
Right.
And because if it continues this way, you're just going to take it. Now my comment was, if I don't do something crazy, you win the struggle.
Right.
And I was right. Because the only reason I won the struggle is because I had a crazy turn that just worked out, and I flipped 2 points that you didn't expect to flip, and all of a sudden now I won the game.
Yeah, I could kind of see Chris just kind of like when you say that, just kind of looking at you quietly.
Oh, he probably
like
already sees the win. He sees the lines.
Yeah.
He knows how I
But
win, right?
And just look at you and go, does it though? In the way that Chris does all the time. Like I can just see him going, but does it though? So yeah no, and I think that's one of the nice things, especially like within our community here in Arizona, is like we have people that you can kind of play test with and kind of like go through, you know, the ups and downs of gaming that are not going to like be take someone getting salty too seriously. I mean, salt's real. Getting salty's real. I mean, that comes like everyone's. You're playing a game and you're going to be competitive about it because someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. That's always going to happen. So, yeah, that's there is a piece to that, but and getting salty like is also part of playing games. Like not everyone's going to be like, "Yay, I lost," and just be okay with it. I think there's acknowledging that it happens and then and like being able to sit there and have that conversation with opponents like, yeah, I'm going to sit there and get salty. It's not you, it's me type of a thing. I think sometimes goes a long way too. And it sounds like you were like already having that conversation with Chris before the game started.
Well, because I mean, like Chris has gotten tilted when he plays against me because, you know, when the dice don't go your way, he also gets a little tilted. And you know, he does also make that comment at the end, like, you know, if he did get a little too tilted, he would be like, you know, hey, my frustration's not towards you. And I was like, no, I'm watching your dice. I understand. Like, because even during our game, like there was some attacks where like I felt bad. I was just like, dude, if I could just say, hey, you get the successes you need, like let's just let it succeed, I would. But then it's not a good like play test, right?
Right.
Because it's like you need if your list can fail because of dice variance, then like maybe there's some changes you need to make so there's less dice variance to affect. There's always going to be dice variance, but there's definitely some rolls where like he's just like, oh my gosh, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, like that's just not fair. Like, you know, Vader getting 2 or 3 boxes against the Night Troopers. You're like, yeah, no, that shouldn't happen. No, no.
Yeah. Vader should be killing stormtroopers for sure. No, I mean, like, I see it. I guess I'm kind of just used to that because coming from the MCP side of things, where everything was an 8-sided dice. I mean, like I was playing MCP next to you while you guys were playing your game, and it's like, okay, I'm going to take this, and here's going to be a 10 dice attack. I had 3 successes. Okay, you know, it's like there's just those games where you're just like, right, you know, and sometimes the dice just put you in that place where you're just like, this is dumb.
Yeah. Well, it was funny too because you were playing the game next to us, and then you guys finished, and I'm like, Chris, they're already done with their game. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my gosh, MCP is so fast.
Yeah, I mean, and I play fast to begin with, so like but yeah, you can get a game done in what 45 minutes to an hour, pretty easily.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting game. I mean, and it's also the way that the game is played. Your turn one, you already know. Most players pretty much know exactly what they're going to do with all of their models that they play the first turn, because there's no random activation. It's just like I have to activate all of my models, and I can activate them whatever order I want. That's one of the weird things. Like,
kind of cool.
It is. I mean, I personally like that you don't have that in MC or in Shatterpoint, because I think it adds a level of more. It makes it a more thoughtful game, simply because like you don't
it's
know
not
what's
as
coming.
scripted.
You just have to correct, and that's one of the things I didn't like about MCP. Is like there was very scripted opens for the turn. It's like, I know I'm going to do this with this character. I'm going to do this with this character. I'm going to do this with this character. It's like, okay, well, let's just move to the turn 2 then and go from there, type of a thing. That's where you don't really have that here.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think what I enjoy about Legion is that there's kind of a mix of both. Because you play, you know, your command card that says you get to give commands to this many units, and then some of your leaders get to give out commands too. So like I know if playing the Empire with Thrawn, and then right now I'm playing it with Tarkin, I get to give out you know, 2 commands guaranteed with those 2 leaders, and then depending on the command card I play, I can give out like 3 more. And then if I'm playing the shore troopers with the shore trooper mortar guy, if they're within 2 of each other and the shore troopers get an order, they get to give an order to the mortar guy. So I could have 6 squads out of my 12 activations that have orders, which means now it's like, yes, I have some randomness, but I also can just go with stuff in the best strategic way.
Right.
So I kind of like that, where you have some control and some randomness, instead of like Shatterpoint, it's like completely random with the order deck, and then MCP where it's completely order control. It's got a nice like variance to it.
Nah, I can see that. So I know that you probably have not had a chance to listen to the podcast yet, since it was only been out for like 24 hours at this point in time, but you mentioned something about like, testing and kind of like telling with having a testing partner to sit there and kind of play through and actively talking about what you were wanting to do during your games, and talking through your actual thought process. How do you think, it's kind of like circling back to like what our topic was for last week, was how do you kind of like leverage that when you're testing, like having that testing partner that's willing to give good feedback versus just someone who's kind of going through the motions with you?
I mean, yeah, I think it definitely comes down to who your partner is, and that's why I think I can't speak on Chris's behalf, but I enjoy testing stuff with Chris because he does have a lot of insight, and him and I, for some reason, just enjoy playing the same stuff because we're both Empire Separatist players. So it's like we both know each other's lists usually decently well. Now I don't know if he thinks I'm a great test partner. He's up here in the abilities and I'm like down here. But I think it does come down to first like who you're playing with, to if they already kind of understand what you're playing, or at least have a strategic mindset to kind of do it. Because I think during the game, if you can talk about what you're trying to do, you have 2 brains now thinking about that play. To where, if you're not playing to win if you're testing stuff out, right? Like you need to make sure you both have that mindset where you're not playing to win. You want to win because you want your list to do well, but you're not playing to like try to play gotchas and don't help your opponent make the better play because that'll help them win. Like you have to both have the understanding that we want to both play. Yeah, you don't want your list to win just because your opponent played their list bad. Like you want to help them play it well, so that way your list played against good plays. So, if I say to Chris, like, well, this is my plan here, and he actually did one time make a suggestion to my play, and I was like, Chris, now you're just trying to make me lose, because it was a terrible suggestion, right? So I was basically like, well, this is what I'm going to do, and I don't think when I first explained it, he saw the full picture of it, because then he made a suggestion like, well, what if you did this or this instead? And then I was like, well, no, like this is my plan. Like it's to get here so I can get the shove and, do manipulating hands on this guy. And then he goes, oh yeah, like, no, that's definitely the right play. But if I was making the wrong play and he sees something better, he could be like, oh, well, it would be better if you did it in this order or you targeted this person, right, because then this would happen. And it allows you to see, oh, yeah, that would be better. And then you can kind of keep it in your mind, like doing that play style with that character is better. So I think you both have to have that mindset and understanding that you're trying to both play the most optimal plays. And then also just throw, like, my idea was, I just want to send night troopers up. I don't know if it's the right play, but I'm going to test it and see what happens. You know, and I
Right.
said that at the beginning when I was setting them up. I was like, we'll see if how this works or how this affects it or what I end up having to do because of it. And I think you have to do that. You can't play the same strategy every game when you're doing tests.
Right.
You can play the same list 5 different ways. Doesn't matter what you're playing against. You could just play it 5 different ways and figure out what way felt better. You know, who to reserve, who to try to pull first, who to Shatterpoint. Because obviously Shatterpoint sometimes is dependent on what's the optimal play at that time. But if all of a sudden you're noticing that, you know, Morgan is the best Shatterpoint option pretty often, it's like, well, maybe that's because she's just an amazing Shatterpoint, right? And you see that with like before the errata, Baze and Churret. You always
Right.
Shatterpointed Baze and Churret. If you played that list and you didn't Shatterpoint them, it better be for a good reason because
Right.
people just figured out like, no, you just Shatterpoint them every time.
Right.
So, but you don't come to that conclusion until you play so many different ways, and then you go, this is the best way to run this list, and that's how I think the top players kind of get there. Is they play like 20 games a week, so they have the time to play it that many ways, but.
And a lot of them are testing with each other as well, where it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, how much testing does like Chris do with Sarah Cruel? You know, like two of the,
so
you
know what Chris was doing? I told him I'd meet him there between 6 and 6:30, right?
Right.
At 6 o'clock when I got there, I went to message him on Discord, and it said he's sharing his screen, and I looked at what he's sharing, and it's TTS.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's playing TTS right now. And so I messaged him, and then when he showed up, he's like, oh yeah, sorry, I planned to get here at 6:30. I was playing a game with Sarah Cruel.
Right.
I was like, he's playing a game before coming to meet up with me to play a game.
Right.
But yeah, he plays with Sarah Cruel all the time, and they test so much stuff, and they help each other, and yeah, I mean, I think that's what you got to do at the top is to help each other.
Right. And I think I like Aubrey and I were talking about that some previously, where it's like back when Magic came out, like when you went into a new meta, like when the new set came out, like you just had a group of like 10 of the best players in the world would just rent a house together for a weekend, and that's all they did was just crack packs of Magic cards and play Magic. And that's, you know, and this is similar to it. It's like basically they just opened up all the new boxes and all the new toys and said, okay, let's test these and see what happens. And it's like, and that's what they're doing, is playing 2, 3, 4 games a day sometimes, depending on, you know, the day, and just playing out all of these different scenarios of like, okay, here's what's the best thing to do. So yeah, I mean, like, you know, for those that aren't married and don't have kids, or, you know, or the Sarah Cool who I guess he's still married and has twins and still is able to do it. I don't know how that. I guess he just doesn't sleep.
That's well, and also, you know, it depends on the job you have and what you do during the day on your job. Like if you can play on your computer for 2 hours while you're working, yeah. And I mean, I the other thing too in that sense is not just playing the game and testing stuff, but also, I mean, having a person that you go back and forth with on list creating and talking about, like, you know, oh, what would be good about this list, and me and Chris throw a lot of lists at each other. He has a tournament coming up this weekend. You know what? This podcast isn't going to be put out until after the tournament, so I can mention it. So yeah, so he mentioned he's been hitting me up with a couple lists on what he could play. And the latest one he did, and I'm going to be very excited if he plays it in the tournament. He has Hunter Kit Fisto, okay? Which at first doesn't sound crazy. Under Hunter, you have Pawns and 7 Scorch.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Under Kit Fisto, you have Nasirai and the Aqua Droids.
What?
So,
okay, get that Aqua tag
Hunter is a scoundrel.
Right.
So, Hunter, Nasirai, and Aqua Droids can benefit from the Aqua Dice. Kit Fisto, and he's been playing a lot of Kit Fisto, you've learned Kit Fisto's just fantastic right now.
Right.
He does great. And then I believe, with the pawns and the 7 Scorch synergy, you have Infiltrate, and then he has, the synergy to move Kit Fisto out of activation. Kit Fisto adds Aqua Dice. So he sent that list, and at first I think he sent it to me as a joke. And then, we kind of, that's what happens, right? You send this list, and then you kind of start talking about the pros and cons of it, and you're like, no, this actually kind of seems like it might work. Like, there's some synergy going on. Because one list I sent to him was, I have tiebreakers. That was the list. Because Padme has tiebreaker now. So we came up with an idea where you could play Padme, Fixer, Fifth Brother, and then Moff Gideon, Ezra, and Fourth Sister.
Okay, that is a lot of tiebreakers.
Now I did tell him, we hit this point where I said, what is the point of tiebreakers if you don't have the number of models to create the ties?
Right.
So I think, there's a lot of fixing you could do here. I think 4 tiebreakers in the list with 2 two-body supports would just be amazing. Right. You have Padme, Fixer, and fill in the support here. And then you have Moff Gideon with Ezra and, Dark Troopers.
Right.
And you sit there and you go, the synergies not really going on, but tiebreakers.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Oops all tiebreakers is
Oops
kind
all
of
tiebreakers.
That's kind of an interesting thing.
And I sent it to him originally as a joke, and you start talking about it, and then you can start theory crafting it a little bit and make it into a playable list. And then you could take it to the table and see how actually playable it is. Because on paper and on the table are 2 very different things.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's some interesting things. It'll be interesting to see how everything works out this weekend for Chris and what Chris ends up playing. So I'll be interested to watch. I know you are going to be at the Fan Fusion, which is basically Phoenix Comic Con this weekend. So you're not playing; you're doing the family thing, which is always cool. It's gonna the con has really grown. It's interesting to see because I remember that convention, kind of going on a side tangent. That convention started out at the Mesa Convention Center. And it was just a super small convention that started. I want to say it was probably about 16, 17 years ago now. And has grown to the point where it's now the only place that can house it is the Phoenix Convention Center, and it takes up basically all
and it's full.
3 floors. Yeah, it takes up all 3 floors of 2 different buildings of a convention center. So it's like, for those of been to Adepticon, it basically takes up the size of Adepticon. It's like that. That's how large of a space it actually occupies for the entire convention. So it's really interesting to see kind of that growth of the convention and everything like that. So I know you'll have a good time. You actually do the whole cosplay. What are you cosplaying as? I'm curious.
So my cosplay is not complete because we have not put work into it. But
Little late for that now.
Yes. I'm just doing a very subtle cosplay to just go to fit with my daughter and wife. So my daughter is going to be Harley Quinn. My wife is going to be, I believe she's going as Poison Ivy.
Okay.
And then I am going to be going as the Riddler. So I bought a green suit, and we were going to get the question marks painted on and do all that. We haven't done that yet. So I was like, well, what I'll do is just get the green, bowler hat, whatever it's called. And I can at least just paint the question marks on there and have a cane, and then just wear the green suit. And it's you can still tell it's the Riddler. It's just not 100% done.
I wonder if you can get iron-on question marks.
You probably could.
And you could probably just iron on question marks if you want to do something really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you can probably find those on Amazon and get those delivered well before you go to the convention if you want to do something like that.
I'd have to just get it delivered tomorrow because the convention is Saturday.
Yeah, but Amazon Prime, dude, we're in Phoenix, man. Amazon Prime in Phoenix, you get everything the next day.
Oh, I I broke my sunglasses. I always buy cheap sunglasses because I break them, and with my job, sometimes I just destroy them and scratch them up. So I was like, I need new sunglasses because I can't be outside right now without sunglasses. It's so bright. So I was like, sweet, $15 for 3 sunglasses, and I did pay because I didn't order enough to get the free shipping, so I paid like $4 in shipping, but it was 3-hour delivery.
Right.
Because I was like, I want it for tomorrow. Boom, 3-hour deliveries. It cost me $4, whatever. But it was available for 3-hour delivery. I think that's crazy. Right. 3-hour delivery is ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
But everything next day is so much. Like, there's so much stuff you can do next day delivery on.
Yeah, so like I said, there's probably options there. But yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Well, on that, I guess I'm going to close out the podcast. As always, I want to thank everybody for listening, tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And if you want to support the podcast, you can definitely do so by becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month. If that doesn't work for you, you can always support us by rating, reviewing podcast on the podcast platform you're listening to us on. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, you can do that. Leave us a like, subscribe, and a comment. Let us know what you think about me having Dane's brother on instead of Aubrey. I know Dane's brother will be jumping on immediately and say, "Man, that's a much better podcast host than the last guy you had on." I know he's going to be doing that.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll throw that comment in there.
But yeah, so definitely jump on and say hello and everything like that. You can always join us in the Discord to tell us what we did wrong or what's wrong with Austin's list and everything along those lines. With the list that he played and how he can play them better, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to take on that. Those comments. But other than that, as always, thanks again, and embrace the dark side because that's the best side.
Yeah.